Bernie's live right now. You guys want me to watch Bernie?
Be able to send their kids.
Let's hear it. Let's see what Bernie's saying.
I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck, and I know a little bit about that. This is the richest country in the history of the world, and families in America, families in the automobile industry, should not have to live with that kind of stress. And let me tell you, and Sean has made this point over and over again, in the last 50 years, there has been a massive redistribution of wealth. Problem is, it's gone in the wrong direction. Instead of going from the top down to the bottom, it's gone from the bottom up to the top. And what this strike is about, and what workers are standing up all over this country for, is we're going to reverse that trend. If the ruling class of this country wants a redistribution of wealth, we're going to give it to them. And one of the reasons I am so proud to be in Detroit today with the UAW is all of you know your own history. You know that back in 1937, 86 years ago, your grandparents stood up and helped transform this country. With incredible courage, they took on the corporate greed of their day, the power of the large corporations, and they helped pave the way, creating a middle class in America. That's what the UAW did in 1937. And here we are today in 2023, 86 years later. And once again, the UAW is helping to lead the effort to rebuild and grow the middle class of America. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I would like to say, just among friends, I would like to say a word to the CEOs of General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis. Understand, folks, understand, CEOs, the enormous financial sacrifices your workers have made over the years. It is time for you to end your greed. It is time for you to treat your employees with the respect and dignity they deserve. It is time to sit down and negotiate a fair contract.
My motherfucking goat, dude.
Now I say to Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors.
He hates women. Do it. The American people are tired of women.
You made over $29 million. Since you became CEO 8 years ago, you have made over $200 million in total compensation.
Boo!
And I say to Ms. Barrow, do you have any clue what it's like for one of your workers to try to survive on $17 an hour, which is the average starting wage of an automobile worker, $17 an hour? Do you know, Ms. Barrow, what it's like to try to raise a family, put food on the table, and pay rent when you're making $20 an hour? And I say to Carlos Tavares, the CEO of Stellantis, Mr. Tavares, last year you received a 22% pay raise. And now you make over $25 million in total compensation. Do you know, Mr. Taveras, what it is like to be classified as a temp? And despite working year after year, you remain a temp, receiving wages and benefits significantly lower than your brothers and sisters doing the same exact work. Mr. Taveras, do you have any clue what that is about? And I say to Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, Mr. Farley, last year you made nearly $21 million in total compensation. And my guess is that when you retire from your job, you're going to have a great pension, golden handshake, and all kinds of benefits. Do you have any clue as to what it's like to be a worker getting older, having worked your entire life, and not having any money in the bank as you prepare for retirement? And let us all be very clear. I know sometimes the media has, to say the least, not been as clear as it might be on this. And let's be clear that what the UAW is fighting for is not radical. In the first half of 2023, the big three automakers made $21 billion in profits in 6 months, up 80% from the same time period last year. In other words, they're doing pretty good. Over the past decade, the big three made $250 billion in profits in North America alone. Last year, these companies spent $9 billion not to improve the lives of their workers, but to pay for stock buybacks and dividends to make their wealthy stockholders even richer. Meanwhile, while the CEOs and stockholders in the automobile industry made out like bandits, the workers who build the vehicles, you, are earning totally inadequate wages, and over the last several decades have fallen further and further behind. All of you know that there was once a time when a union job in the automobile industry was the gold standard for the working class in America. Well, we are determined to bring those days back again. We will not accept that over the last 20 years, the average wage for American auto workers has decreased by 30% after adjusting for inflation. Do you want to know why you're out on strike right now? That's the reason. Now, I read a lot in the media about how a strike is going to be bad for the economy. Well, let me tell you something about the economy. When you have auto workers who cannot afford to buy the cars they make, that is bad for the economy. When you have auto workers who can't afford to take out a mortgage to buy a modest home, that is bad for the economy. When you have auto workers who can't afford child care or to save up to send their kids to college, that is bad for the economy. When you have auto workers who can't afford prescription drugs, can't afford health care, that is bad for the economy.
Take your medication, Chatter.
It is totally reasonable for auto workers to finally receive a fair share of the record-breaking profits that their labor has produced. It means that if the big three can afford to spend $9 billion on dividends and stock buybacks last year, they can afford to provide a decent COLA to auto workers so their wages keep pace with inflation. It means that the time is long overdue to end the disastrous two-tier system. It means finally ending the use of temporary workers. And very importantly, it means that every auto worker receives a decent pension plan so they can retire with dignity. It means that workers should have the right to strike when an auto company announces that they will be shutting down another profitable plant in the United States. And by the way, over the years, they've shut down 65 of those plants. But that's not all. It means that as we combat climate change, the existential threat of climate change, and try to make sure that this planet is healthy and habitable for our kids, that when the auto industry builds new electric vehicle and battery plants, it means that the workers in those plants become part of the UAW and receive the same wages and benefits as union members. Brothers and sisters, the CEOs of General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, and their major stockholders on Wall Street.
Dude, I want one of these too.
I've got to understand.
This shit's fire, bro. Look at him. He's got a Senator Bernie Sanders UAW jacket.
All. We refuse to live in an oligarchy. We refuse to accept a society in which so few have so much and so many have so little. Brothers and sisters, enough is enough. Let us stand together to end corporate greed. Let's stand together to rebuild the disappearing middle class. Let us create an economy that works for all, not just the 1%.
If he takes it off, I will have my wife swipe it. We got you. Thank you. Use your time at the strike, at the picket lines to do something good for once. You know what I mean? Not selfishly looking for better benefits or better pay, but instead to steal Bernie Sanders' UAW jacket the moment he takes it off. But he's an old guy. He's probably a little chilly. You know what I mean? I don't think he's gonna do that.
Let's give it up to Bernie Sanders.
What the fuck, DJ?
And our international president, Sean Fain. Now next, we're going to introduce some people that are putting in the hard work, the late nights, taking your...
Okay, we have a lot to talk about still, so I'm going to move back to the CEOs.